Hey, hey. Okay, so back for part two of my views, opinions, perspectives on our current racism issues, you know, injustices and all going on currently in this day and age in, this world. So, in part one, I spoke of prejudice and how I feel that there is, more prejudice within our own minority groups than there is, within, uh, you know, coming from the white uh, groups at this point. I mean, I'm going to touch on this a little more. Let me get my little YouTube disclaimers out there. Likely to use profanity, just who I am. I took notes on all this because I'm too damn ADD to remember everything, and plus I'm like too easily to go off on a little bit of a tantrum. Um, when I get to, definitely parts of the the subject that really, burn me or eat me to my core. So um, that's where I'm looking down. And then sometimes I just look off into there. That's just me and my thoughts, whatever. That's just who I am. But anyhow, so um, like I said, this is part of my own self evaluation, looking within, trying to figure out who am I and what is it that I want out of this life. What is it that's going to make me happy? And like I said, I decided to started to share a lot of my views and thoughts, with others in hopes that it will help someone else's path be a little easier to go down, or help them to be able to look at things from a different perspective or point of view, and maybe make their choices a little easier. So to get back to it, before I go a little more into the victimization, I just, like I said, I want to, point out that, we have to stop as minorities. We have to stop looking for people to blame for the events and things that occur within our lives. The majority of the events and things that occur within our lives are going to occur and will occur regardless of what person or people are involved in the group or setting. You know, as minorities, I think that we are living with generational curses and generational trauma and bullshit that has been stacked, stacked one beyond the other. Believe that it used to be like, dealing with one generation of drama, bullshit, karma. But I do believe now we have generation on top of generation on top of generation, and this shit is trying to bring everybody to their knees. It has made everybody cold, heartless, selfish, and so forth, and shutting down, totally cutting people out, and just isolating. It's not the answer. It's not going to fix it. It's not going to stop it. It's not going to heal it. It's not going to wound, it's not going to mend that wound that's open. Um, you know, as one of them singers said, you can't fix bullet holes with band-aids. It's not going to work. And that's what's been going on. And I know that that's going on for a lot of people, because I was that way. I had reached a point in my life where I just couldn't deal with people anymore. Like, I found myself just every day, like, work, dealing with people. Like, it was taking me to a place of like where I'm like, somebody's gonna get hurt. Like, I'm either gonna rip somebody's head off or somebody's gonna rip my head off. Like, something's gonna happen. Something's got to give. So I had to, start to isolate, you know, to prevent myself from, you know, as sad as it sounds, sometimes just ending up in a doctor's office dealing with the secretary at the desk. Like, I'd find myself like ready to rip her head off just because, you know, they're nasty, they're ignorant. And for what? It's like, it's 10 o'clock in the morning. I didn't do nothing to you. But everybody's carrying and dealing with something that we don't know about. And like I said, these are the reasons I wanted to talk and share. You know, many people look at me, look at my size, my weight, and everything. You know, they think I'm the picture of health, and, you know, everything's great. What could be wrong with me? But my issues are autoimmune. They're inside. My immune system, you know, responds when it shouldn't, you know. It attacks healthy components of my body. So I don't know what I'm going to wake up dealing with from day to day, you know. You know, some days, you know, it's just pains. Some days it's more than pains, you know. It just, you know, fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue. It just doesn't stop. Head to toe, there's always something going on. But hey, I ain't going to sit here and cry about it because that's victimization. I'm not going to cry about it. I'm going to share and talk about it in hopes that maybe I could save someone else from getting to the severity that I have. But, you know, that's going to be a whole nother video about generational stuff. But anyhow, we just have to stop looking for people to blame, number one, and just look within and be accountable for our own actions and responses and stuff like that. And also, you know, realize that it's not all about the color of your skin. Like, in my life, you know, when it comes to work and you know, climbing up the ladder and, you know, getting help or support in a business venture and everything and stuff like that, or just anything, even like when it comes to, you know, since I've been sick, you know, trying to get, you know, I've worked since I was 15 years old like a freaking dog. Never looking for a handout, never asking for a handout. My pride, my ego, one, wouldn't let me, number one. Number two, I've never mind working. I'd rather go work and make mine, pay mine, handle mine, and have more so I can go, you know, be the shopaholic that I always was, you know. But it's crazy because in all of my years, when I look back, the harsh reality is when it came to someone helping me, someone supporting me, someone giving me an extra nudge, or giving me that last piece I needed to a puzzle to, you know, get to the next level or next plateau, or get a promotion, or you know, bag the, you know, a job with a great company and everything. Here's the harsh reality. I have been helped and supported more by white people than I ever have from minorities. The sad truth is the majority of the minorities that I have crossed paths with along my way, whether it was work setting, you know, business setting, you know, whatever, support setting, you know, whatever, any type of setting, I have had more setbacks, you know, what's the words I'm looking for? Setbacks, you know, lack of support, you know, a no intention to try to help type scenario come from minorities. Minorities. They have been more of a hindrance than ever a help. They will not support your businesses. And again, minorities. Minorities that actually even share my own same blood, let alone the ones that don't share my blood. So the reason why I keep saying that Um, the only way anything is ever going to change is if we change. It's only if the minorities themselves change it. And the reason why is because, a lot of these people, over the years, since the Black Lives Matters, since Trump was running, and then now again when Trump is running, you know, during the Black Lives Matters, a lot of people saying we need to get together as minorities and band together to try to stop this. Yes, I love it. Great thought. Until you think about that thought a little further. You have minorities that sleep under the same roof. Some across the hall from each other. Some shit in the same room. One bed on that side, one bed on this side. And hell, even some, they laying in the same damn bed. That will not help another minority that shares their blood or their bed or the same roof as them. So why are you expecting or asking for minorities to care about or try to band together to help another minority somewhere across the country that they don't know from a can of paint? Unfortunately, that's not the world we live in. That would have worked in 1940, 1950, 1960. That don't work now. The generations that are here now and walking this earth now, like I said, they don't care about the person who lives and shares the same bed and roof as them's lives. Shit, most of them don't even give a shit about their own life. Why are you expecting them to care about someone else's? This is the shit we have to change. One, need to start to teach people and show people how to care about their own lives. Have true self-love. A lot of people are talking about it. A lot of people are saying, yeah, be you, be yourself, know your worth, this and that. But the reality is all of those words mean nothing if that person does not know how to be or do any of that. Whole nother video. Again, I'll get off on a tangent. So, like I said, the prejudice stands more heavily within the minority groups than anywhere else. We got to start there first. Then number two. Number two is victimization. Too many minorities have been living in a state of victimization. And, this is coming down from great-grandparents to grandparents down to them, down to, current generations and so forth on down the line. A state of injustice, victimization, and this and that. And, don't get me wrong. Like I said, I can give so many more examples. I have been, like I said, mistreated and everything just the same as anybody with a, darker skin than mine. Even down to the ones that are even lighter skin than mine. We all experience the same types of prejudice and injustice, whether it's coming from a white person or another fellow minority. You know what I mean? I've been in this. I've walked into high-end stores and gotten followed around like I was there to steal something. All of that. We all experience the same thing. That's why I keep saying no one is better than the other. We are all the same. And that's what we need to realize. So, we got to stop with this victimization, because that's what it is, keeping this alive. This is why we are 150 plus years later and we still have these problems. Because, it's like, oh, you're never going to get that job because of the color of your skin, or you can't, that's not for black people, or that's for white people, or whatever it is. Why do we do this? Why? Everything is for everybody. Everything is for everybody. It's it's out there for everybody. The difference is, what is it that you want? Just because it's for everybody doesn't mean everybody has to take it, or everybody has to accept it, or everybody has to do it, right? So why make judgments, you know? I listen. I have country music singers I like. I have hardcore rappers that I like. I have any genre of music. I have, you know, rock and roll bands, whatever. Any genre of music that you want to pull out, I probably have somebody there I like. But there's plenty of minorities out there that will place a whole lot of judgment on me for that. Oh well, don't give a shit. I don't. Um, thank God I've always had that attitude, because I can't imagine the level of depression and anxiety, you know, I would have lived with in my life if I would have cared so much about what people thought. You know, don't get me wrong. There's been things and people in my life that what they've did or said has bothered me. But for the most part, I would venture to say I've weighed on the 80-20. 80% of the time I didn't give a shit. There's about 20% I did. But thank God. And I feel so bad for the people that are the other way around. They care about other people's opinions and thoughts and views 80% of the time, and can only not give a shit 20. So again, the whole victimization, none of us are excluded from it, but you have to realize, playing the victim, there's no positive, there's no win in that. And continuing to be a victim, there's no win in it. There's none. You know, they say, you know, try to give some metaphors here. You do dirt, you get dirt, right? What's done in the dark always comes to the light, whatever the case may be, type scenarios. So if you chronically think and believe that you're going to be done wrong, or you're going to be judged, or, you know, someone's going to be show racism towards you, whatever. If those are your thoughts and your beliefs, and that's what you run and operate off to your core, that's what you will continue to get in life. You will continue to be a victim, because shit will continue to happen to you, because that's your vibration, that's your level of expectation. So you only operate to a level of what you believe you're capable of. So while you're continuing to tell yourself and your children and your grandchildren and every person you pass on and you pass through in your family that this is going to be the outcome regardless of what they do, they're going to continue to operate from a level that only yields that outcome. You will never be able to rise to the next level or plateau to find out that it does change if you are stuck believing that that's the outcome and that's, you know, what it's going to be. What you believe, what you think, how you speak, how you act is who you are and what you become. So, speak and act like a victim, you'll be a victim. Again, speak and act like a victim, you'll be a victim. You know, operate from a victim's standpoint. Victims are fearful. They're fearful. They're timid. They're not willing to try new things, do new things. They're not willing to push the bar or go outside of a certain boundary in fear of being a victim again. So, what did you do? What are you doing to yourself, your kids, your grandkids, and everyone else that you continue to pump, you know, these stories of what's happened to you and how it's going to happen to them into their lives and into their psyche? You know, you're planting these seeds for them to grow in them. And then, you know, as soon as they get one opportunity that might not even be an injustice, but slightly similar to it, they're going, oh, yep, see, now it's happening to me. you're putting yourself in that box, and you're trapping yourself in that box. Trapping yourself in that box because you're never releasing being the victim. You're never willing to leave outside of a certain comfort zone or level or parameters because you believe that if you do, you're just going to continue, to get the same results. So you don't elevate yourself. You don't educate yourself higher. You don't make that, choice to do something a little different because you can't seem to find any value or reason or justification in doing it because you're so hardly convinced that you're going to get the same result. You have to stop. You have to stop. Because that is not always the case. I know. I bet plenty of you are like, what's this girl? She don't know what she's talking about. This has been happening to my family. It's happened to me, happened to my mama, happened to her mama and her mama. Yep, right. You're absolutely right. Sure did. Because they all lived in fear, either in fear or in victimization mode. And until you break that cycle, until you change and teach different, it will continue on in your family and generations on and on and on. So that's that part of it. And now I'm going to get into something that is going to give you a little more of a scientifical spin on it. Okay? We all love to refer back to the good old karma's a bitch, right? Yes, she is. She is a bitch. And, she never forgets. She never, leaves anybody out, She always comes back, right? Karma Cafe. You're going to get served exactly what you deserve, right? Don't need no menus, right? So take this interesting thought. We have 7 chakras in our body, chakras of life. They operate on a 7-year cycle, okay? So our first chakra is earth, and that's from birth to 7 years old. So from birth to 7 years old, the foundation of that person's future life, how they're going to build their life, how they're going to act, and all of that foundation is set from birth to 7. So be conscious of the conversations you're allowing your kids to hear, the negative thoughts, and everything that you're allowing your kids to be exposed to from 1 to 7, because that's all being laid into their foundation of their entire life. Second chakra, sacral chakra, that is from the age of 7 to 14. That is when your child is going to identify with a gender role, a sexuality, their physical abilities, when they're likely to play sports, when they're going to explore outside of the world of your family life and your home. That's from 7 to 14, okay? The third chakra is the solar plexus, and that is going to run from the age of 14 to 21. And once we get here from 21 on, every 7 years, there's going to be a crisis triggered within each and every individual's life due to karma. Okay? So 14 to 21, back to that solar plexus, right? This is the time where they explore, where do they belong? Who do they want to fit in with? So they're trying different social groups. They're learning the rules or ways of society. What's actually going to happen, as a response to their actions. And sadly enough, too many of them at this age group are taking actions that when they're asked to be held accountable for them, they want to fall back to that victimization. But that victimization does nothing for them when they're facing adult charges and convictions and stuff like that. So, again, don't plant those seeds. How about plant the seeds of a fear of losing your ability to be free for the rest of your life? You know? So, anyhow, 14 to 21 solar plexus is also when a lot of people lose their virginity, and that's where they start to feel like they're an adult. They're part of this adult world, so forth, right? So the first three are the groundwork of the rest of their life. The rest of their life. It's going to be a whole nother video about how I feel about the way people raise their children in those age groups or whatever. Again, a whole nother video, but first three, like I said, total groundwork for the rest of their life. Number 4 is the heart chakra. Heart chakra runs 21 to 28. And this is where they're supposed to truly enter the real world of adult life. But as I briefly already said, unfortunately, too many of them are entering it in the chakra number 3 from the age of, like, say, 15 to 21. And they're making the wrong choices. And they're getting hit with harsh consequences and realities. So by the time that they get to this number 4 chakra, where the heart chakra is opening, and this is where they need to start to learn how to, feel, handle emotions, whether they should have empathy for someone or not, whether they're going to be cold and heartless or not. Unfortunately, most of the time, by the time they get there, they've already been dealt with something that as soon as that heart chakra opens, it's already poisoned and tainted with, heartlessness, selfishness, and so forth. The goal of the heart chakra originally from 21 to 28, that cycle is to learn how to refine and effectively invest one's own emotions in order to get, prosperous results in their relationships, careers, life in general. They need to be able to truly hone and know their own emotions, how they feel, what they want, what they don't want, and also to be able to express them so that they can get the best results possible. That's basically their time to build their life, to structure everything that makes them an individual. Their time to pull away from their parents and not have to rely on them anymore, for financial or whatever the case may be. This is where, hey, now you're an adult, live your life, do this, do that. I'm not saying like cut your parents off or anything, but just that time of owning being an adult, okay? And it's a shame because too many kids, teenagers, young adolescents are totally destroyed by the time they get here, or they've been poisoned by so many generations of negativity, toxicity, and victimization that by the time that opens up, it's buried with a bunch of garbage and generational shit that shouldn't be there. So on to the next. Number 5 is the throat chakra, which is from the age of 28 to 35. And that is where you reach your level for creativity and willpower, where you're free to make your own choices, which are supposed to align with you having a higher level of consciousness, a full understanding of life and what life is and what this world is supposed to be, because now you've experienced 4 prior levels, you know what I mean? Connecting one, earthly things, da 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 da, solar number 2, sacral, which is, finding out your physical abilities, this and that, your family, outside world, yada yada yada. You went through all these. Number 5 is like, okay, so now you've reached a level where you can live your life and make your choices. And like I said, you're supposed to be a true human being at this point that, you know, has morals, values, empathy, respect for, the next person, understanding, any of the above. Um, just be non-judgmental of people. Like, we don't know, what people are going through, but yet we judge everybody. We judge everybody because, they have a lesser car than you, or they have lesser clothes. Like, what are you judging somebody for? Everybody's going to get where they're going in their own time. Or maybe they just don't even care about those things. Maybe they're perfectly content with what they have. You know how many times I sit and listen to young adults and teenagers anymore where, they're like, oh, wow, why are you wearing that? Like, to one another. And I'm like, sitting in my head like, well, why are you trying to make them feel like it's something bad? Obviously, they're wearing it because they liked it. So why are you trying to place judgment on them for wearing it? But now you're going to have them, feeling some type of way later, like, oh, this wasn't good enough or this and that. And then they're going to go out and try to acquire something to meet that person's standards. Maybe they don't have the financial means to do that. So now are they going to lie, steal, or cheat? It's just insanity. It's a vicious cycle that needs to be broke. Um, you know, and so this is the point in life where every choice you make, and especially from what level of consciousness you're at, is now truly building up the karma that you have to face. And if you don't face it, then your children will have to face it, And throat chakra, think about it, throat. Full expression of what you feel, what you want, who you are, everything should never be blocked. And when that's blocked, that ends up manifesting in ailments in your body. When you hold everything in, you bury everything deep down. I came from a family that I used to be so, severely, kind of ashamed of. Like, what is wrong with them? Why do they act that way? Why couldn't I just have a normal family? That's how I used to feel for so long. And it took me many years to get to the point of saying, nah, you know what? I am so grateful for the family I have and had and the way I grew up. Because if I didn't, I wouldn't be who I am today, There used to be a person that was in my daily presence that used to, no matter what came up, what type of argument, disagreement, or what it was, they would always refer back to or try to tie it back to, oh, it's because you weren't raised right. And, at first I used to, really take it to heart and let it bother me and think like, damn, is this because I wasn't raised right or whatever? And then, I realized like, no, actually, this has absolutely nothing to do with how I was raised, because I actually do, I ain't gonna sit here and say 100% because nobody's perfect, and I ain't saying that I've always done everything right or made all the right choices, but I'm gonna say that I do and raise my kids 90% different than the way that I was raised. Maybe 90%, somewhere in there. Just because I had such big opinions and thoughts and emotions and feelings about, ways that parents, family members, and all different interactions in my life went. So, they stayed with me and weighed heavily on me that I didn't want to do that or be that to my children. So, again, it's like, why do we sit and let people tell us who we are, what we are, or why we do something? It's actually them responding to what's broken in them. The truth of the matter is it every situation and everything that came about had nothing to do with how I was raised. Probably more of the fact with, about the way that they were raised or issues that they had within them that they refuse to address and look into and dig deeper. I have spent, you know, way too much time digging deeper, looking in. I mean, when you get sick and, you spend sometimes days and days and days in the bed, it's only you and your thoughts. That's not the time and the way to look in the mirror. If I can go back, I'd look in the mirror a lot more. Probably once an hour every day and deal with the shit as it comes instead of trying to unbury, 30 years of shit in a couple years, unbury, heal, and deal and release it. Like, that's not the way to do it. Anyhow, so back to the conversation. So we're at throat chakra 28 to 35, right? And if at this point in your life you haven't, released and let go and got to a point in your life where, you're out of being selfish or judgmental or childish or, all of those different not adult things that you should be doing, still being, wasting people's time, cheating on people, all of that stuff, if by the time you hit 35, you haven't laid all that to rest and made amends with all that and figured out where you're supposed to be in this life, shit, it's time to sound the alarm because you about to really be hitting some shit. Because like I said, from 21, you got 21, 28, 35, 42, and 49. You will be served with karma at each and every one of those points in your life. Who you are, what you do, and how you've acted will determine how bad or how hard it hits you. So, that's definitely the time to wake up. So let's just try to sum this up. So third eye chakra, that comes from 35 to 42. That is where your inner philosopher, is born, where you begin to look for the meaning in everything in life. What's as I'm doing. What's the meaning? What's the purpose? Why am I here? What do you want? The whole who, what, why, where, why, um, because you're no longer going to be able to just talk to talk, How many people spent every Sunday and Tuesday and Thursday in church, from the time they were, 25 to 45 or whatever. They still got dealt karma because they wasn't seeing life in the full picture of everything. They were just talking to talk. They wasn't walking the walk. So you gotta be sure you are walking the walk. And that's because, when you get to that sixth chakra, like I said, the inner philosopher, looking for the meaning in everything, that's when you've reached the final battle. The final battle between the wisdom of the heart and the wisdom of logic. It's the final showdown right there. Before you hit chakra 7, which runs from 42 to 49. And that is the crown chakra. And the crown chakra is basically your crossroad. That's all that is. It's where you reach your crossroad. And that crossroad is asking you, who are you choosing? Are you choosing your ego, your selfishness, your victimization, your entitlement, all of the things that have been built up in you and you know, um, built up, instilled in you by your parents, your friends, your whatever the case may be? Or are you going to choose, to operate from a heart space, a place of compassion, so that you can grow, you can expand, you can, open up your eyes to the fact of, just because it's always been done this way doesn't mean it's right. Or just because that's what Joe and Jack is doing doesn't mean that's what Jill needs to be doing. Or whatever the case may be, however you want to slice it. You can't keep following behind everyone all the time. We are all different for a reason, so we need to all start making, feeling confident and comfortable and making our own choices and believing in who we are and believing in our choices. And, so that we can grow and expand and break cycles that have been going on for far too many, generations after generations after generations. Because, like I said, you're at that crossroad. And unfortunately, for everybody that chooses ego and selfishness and victimization and didn't heal those wounds, just kept putting band-aids on them and everything else, unfortunately, and it's a shame, because a lot of people don't even realize, like, they think they're living right, but if you're not healing hurts, you're not expressing how you feel, and you're not, going after what makes you happy, you're settling in life, settling for, someone mistreating you, settling for a lack of appreciation or lack of love or respect or anything, that's bad karma too. And at that crossroads, even someone who has appeared to live right has lived wrong. And at 49, that's where you've basically passed the baton to the next generation. When you choose that wrong crossroad, you pass the baton to the next generation. So this is how victimization has taken over this world. The baton has been passed, loaded with shit for far too many generations. Far, far, far too many generations. And nobody is stopping and looking at the big picture, and trying to, come from a different space to address this. So I'm going to leave it there, because I've always talked too much. I'll sit here and talk forever. But I think you guys get the drift. I'll have many more videos that will dive a little deeper into some of the different issues that, I touched on here and there in this. But again, if you found even one little thing in this video that helped you, I'm glad I could offer that to you and give that to you. Any support I can give to anyone to make their road, their path a little easier, to help them get to the next level, I am more than willing to give. So, you could like, subscribe, hit the notification, can put something in the comments. If you just want to ask my point of view on something, you could do that. If you could tell me, fuck your views, fuck your point of view, you're wrong, this and that, you can tell me that too. I'm cool with all of that. Because I'm breaking the cycle. I ain't passing no more karma to my kids. Nah. As we go down the road in my family lineage, and you start to hear the fucked up shit that's in no, this baton will not be passed, not one more time. Not happening. Shit not going down. So anyhow, enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you for hanging out with me for the time you did.